What's up, guys? Hey, it's Clint Kuhns here, and in this video, we're going to talk about having commercial loans and some entity planning mistakes that I see people make when it comes to asset protection. Okay, so what is the issue with this commercial loans and the entity planning mistakes, and why would it even apply to me? Why am I watching you, Clint? What am I going to learn from this? Well, what I want to show you is what you should not do if you have commercial loans on your real estate if you're looking for additional asset protection, because this comes up quite a bit actually in our structuring and working with our clients. When they first come to us, we find that they may have been purchasing real estate under one entity like this. Maybe they've set up an LLC, and this limited liability company right here is maybe it's treated as a partnership. All right, for tax purposes. If it's treated as an S Corp, oh gosh, we got so many problems. I actually cut a video on why you don't want to use S corporations. You can check that out on my channel. But let's assume it's set up as a partnership and you have a few properties in here. And when I say commercial loans, people oftentimes think, hey, I'm dealing with commercial properties and I don't own commercial real estate, so this doesn't apply to me. When I'm thinking of commercial loans, you can have other situations where you have single family property, okay? Maybe you bought 8 properties or 10 properties, or you've had 10 properties, and you go out and you get a blanket loan against all of those properties. And so you have one loan that covers all of that. Maybe you did a cash out refi on those properties. So that one loan is encumbering all of those assets. So then you realize, hey, I got a problem here, right? And that problem is, if anything goes wrong, let's assume that I'm just going to put 4 properties in there. If anything goes wrong with one of these properties, then my entire structure is at risk. So what you decide to do then is change your structure. Maybe you want to pull a property out of this and put it over here into a separate limited liability company that you set up. And you're going to do the same thing with all your properties. You're going to break this one out into a separate LLC over here. And so we do this and we move our properties out, so we have this great asset protection now, where at the end of the day, we're only sitting on one property in the first LLC. Okay, so we only have this one property left in there, and we've isolated out all of our assets. And maybe you've got a Wyoming LLC down here that's owning these interests. Okay, like I talk about. So here's your Wyoming LLC, and possibly you decided, hey, I'm going to set this one up as a disregarded entity, or possibly it's a partnership. I don't know. You should go partnership for that video, but for that entity. But here's the point. Here's where the mistake comes in, that can trap or catch people off guard and really, really hurt them in doing this planning. And the problem is, you're not asking the right questions before you start breaking this up. You get focused too much on the asset protection, and you're not asking yourself, all right, before I do this, what does my commercial lender or my banker require of me on an annual basis? Now, I've been involved in certain loans, and I'm currently involved in these loans, where you have to report back to the lender on a periodic basis. Some of these lenders actually ask for copies of tax returns. Maybe it's your LLC tax return because you bought them in the LLC. That's where they did the entire loan. Or maybe you have these properties in your own name right now because you didn't use LLCs when you acquired them all. And now you want to put LLCs into place. If your lender, okay, this is a key point here, guys. If your lender wants to see a copy of your tax return each and every year, then you need to be careful with your planning, because any planning that you engage in like this that changes the way your tax return looks, be it they're asking for this return or they're asking for your 1040, that's going to alert the lender that something's gone on. Now, why is this important? Well, in a lot of loans, lenders have built in a sneaky little clause that allows them to assess a fee based upon your outstanding loan balance if you've transferred property. Now, they're still protected even though you put the property in separate LLCs, but it's a way for them to make extra money off of you by saying, oh, you transferred your property into another LLC. Well, we didn't review that. Our legal department needs to review the transaction and the LLC agreement. And to do that, it's going to cost you $2,000. You're like, what the heck? you're still in the same situation. So you don't want to be in that or find yourself trapped by that. And that is why when you're dealing with commercial loans and you want to structure stuff, you got to make sure your property or your tax returns look exactly the same. So let me just show you something really quick here on what I would do in two different scenarios. Okay, so let's assume that I started out, the first scenario is this. You own the properties in your own name, and your lender requires you give them a copy of your 1040 every year. Now they're just doing that to check on the loan, to make sure the properties are cash flowing and that you still own them. So if I was in that scenario, I could still structure my assets, but this is how I'm going to do it. I'm going to create separate LLCs for each of these properties, just like this. And then I'm going to put in, of course, my holding LLC that I want to do here. So this would be my Wyoming LLC. It's my holding LLC. And then I'm going to be the member of this Wyoming LLC. Now, unlike my other videos where I talk about treating this as a partnership for tax purposes to get some of those benefits that comes from working with future lenders and lowering your audit risk, this is not one of those situations where you're going to make this a partnership. In fact, you're going to make all of these disregarded LLCs. They all have to be disregarded. So everything flows down onto your 1040 Schedule E. Why? So when you turn over your tax return to the lender, they see the exact same information on that 1040. Nothing changes, so it doesn't alert them that you've done all this planning. You get the asset protection, but you're also satisfying that commercial lender. Now, the second example is the one we first started with. So if you have a scenario where you have that first LLC that you created, and this LLC that's owning those 4 properties is taxed as a partnership, all right, then if you want to fix that and get asset protection, just build up. And what I mean by that is create separate LLCs up here. Create 4 LLCs, because in my example I have 4, and transfer the properties out of this one into these 4 LLCs up top, like that. All of these entities are disregarded. So this entity here that you own, right here, this entity right here, will continue to file a partnership return at 1065. Since these up top are disregarded, all of those properties will still show up on that 1065. It gives you the K1. So when the lender asks for a copy of your tax returns, it continues to look the same year after year. Hey, I hope this didn't get too complicated into the weeds for you, but it's something that's really important. I've seen mistakes made in asset protection planning that where the lender has asked the borrower for copies of tax returns on an annual basis, you have to be very careful what you're doing on this side, lest you alert them to the fact that there's some planning going on and it makes them nervous and they want to get in there and charge you some fees. Hey, hope you learned a lot on this video. If you got any comments, drop them into the comments section below. And again, if you're not a subscriber, be sure to subscribe. All right, take care, everyone.